Thank you so much for your talk. As normal, I'll begin by asking a few questions myself, and then after that I will open up to audience questions. So my first question for you this evening is about how you used to write your music behind your electro heart persona.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, why is it that you wanted to separate yourself from your music in that way?
I think because I felt like I was being really pushed into this by my label, and I thought, and it's hard because the way in which I think is very much, I consider both options and both sides all the time, so I'm always weighing up what's the best or right option. And for this, I couldn't really decide because on one hand, I didn't feel like that kind of very high octane pop sound was my sound or part of my identity. But also at the same time, it was an amazing opportunity to work with people like Stargate, who's written Rihanna's Rude Boy, Dr. Luke, who'd done a lot of work with Katy Perry. These were really interesting figures in the songwriting industry. And so I thought, okay, fine, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it as somebody else. And so that's why I created this persona, because I didn't feel like the sound was true to me, but I still wanted to be the creator.
And what does that persona mean to you now? Do you still feel a connection to it? Or?
No, I feel like it's weird. When I look at it, I feel like it's somebody else, because it kind of was. And, you know, it's very much like playing a part in a musical. So I saw it as an expression of that time. And actually what I was doing was dividing I suppose the album into female archetypes. And so in a way, like I was talking before about pop music being a mirror, I was reflecting what I was seeing every day. And prima donna can very much be a reflection of personality types like Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton, which we all think on the surface, oh, you know, whatever, how is that important? But there's a reason why people are paying attention to them. So I was kind of reflecting that back.
Leading on from that, you spoke in your talk about how people in the pop industry often feel the need to dumb themselves down. And you've said before that in interviews following your Electro Heart album, you felt like the questions you received were very dumbed down and superficial. And I was wondering that, have you noticed a difference in that since you decided to write all your material by yourself?
Hugely. Like I couldn't even tell you how much of a difference there's been. It's quite shocking actually, and when I started doing interviews after Prima Donna, I thought, God, I really feel sorry for real pop stars, because this is the type of stuff that they get every day. And again, that assumption that I wasn't making the music was there again. So it's a very different world, and you know, an image is very powerful. You have to be careful with it.
And how do you think that we can move away from the kind of homogenous nature of radio music that you spoke about in your talk, or do you think it's just reflective of the society that we now live in?
I think it's getting better, at least I hope. I mean, radio, for example, in America is quite different. The format is different. They have thousands of radio stations across America, and they are all categorized into R&B, pop, and alternative. So if you fall in between any of those, then it's like, good luck, because you're not getting on the radio. Whereas over here, I do think stations like Radio 1 are different, and they do play different types of music, but in that kind of daytime slot, it's all the same. And I feel like the only way that it can change is A, by talking about it at events like tonight, but also by encouraging songwriters and artists to be less compromising with their labels, because usually the artist has a better instinct for what suits them than their record label will.
On a different topic, you said you write as a self-serving mechanism, but in order to be successful, do you think that you have to write your music with particular fans in mind, or do you just write it for yourself and hope that there's other people out there like feeling the same things that you're feeling?
Yes, definitely the latter. Definitely. It would be too stressful to try and write for other people. And actually, every time that I've done an album, I've kind of been told or warned that, oh, you might lose your fan base. And I've thought, well, if that happens, that happens. And actually it has happened in different ways, like with Electra Heart, a lot of the indie fans dropped off. But then I gained actually what is my fan base today. So I think you'll always get that, and I definitely don't think you should write for your fan base, no.
And so since your songs are so personal and often about personal relationships that you've had, is it really hard putting it out very publicly when you maybe know that a song that you've written might hurt someone that you know or have been about your relationship in that way?
Yes. I actually said to my boyfriend the other day, I was like, do you think it's harder to write when you're married? Because if you write a song about your husband and you're stuck with him then. Like, what are you going to do? At least if you do it about a boyfriend, you know, the relationship's probably over. So yes, it's difficult, and I guess I can't care because that's what's part of being a songwriter, is your need, or any kind of writer, but it's your need to document your life. So it's part of the deal.
Do you think that you write about your relationships in the same way that Taylor Swift does?
Do you? No, I don't. I don't think so. Yeah.
Moving swiftly on, you said again in your talk that you like to explore really unorthodox views in your songs, and I was particularly interested about your song Savages and how that's largely about rape culture. I was just wondering if you'd be able to expand a little bit about your thoughts behind this song, and also maybe what you think is the best way to tackle rape culture, and if we need to approach it differently to how we have been.
That's an interesting question because it's such a relevant topic. However, with Savages, what led me to writing that song was I was reading an article, I think in the Times, and it was about the Boston bombings, and the journalist was saying how it's so hard for him to reconcile in his mind how, you know, one man can be running a race to raise money, you know, to save other people's lives, and then another man can be plotting to blow himself up, or, you know, building a bomb. And I thought that there was real poetry in that for all of us it's very hard to comprehend and to accept that there are two sides to human nature. So that song was very much, it wasn't actually condemning anything, you know, about murder or war or people having an animalistic side. It was more just acknowledging it. And I mean, sometimes I think about you know, why does rape happen? Why do men rape women? Because it's something that's, I'm assuming, has happened for, you know, thousands and thousands of years. And instead of punishing people or kind of taking a view of condemning it, I'm way more interested in the psychology behind it, why it happens, and whether it's symptomatic of culture or, you know, society at the time, or it's just something inbuilt, you know, just as other types of mental illness are. So it's an interesting one. In terms of your question about, you know, how to do something about rape culture, I don't have the answer, but I think my way of dealing with it is writing songs like that at least encourage people to think about it, because the only way that change happens is through thought. So hopefully it's contributed to that.
Thank you. The last question from me is just, you mentioned at the start about how obviously you're Welsh and Greek, and I was just wondering, do you still feel a strong connection to your Greek and Welsh heritage? Or?
Yeah, I do. I do, very much so. I've spent most of my life in Wales, but I very much feel Greek as well, and it's something that I'd like to delve into more over the next year when I get time off, because it's my Greek upbringing has had a big impact on me as an artist and just person as well, character, and it's something that I want to celebrate, and I think they need that at the moment, and that I definitely want to be open about the fact that I'm proud to be Greek. As for the Welsh side, of course, I'm proud to be Welsh as well. But yeah, I guess I have more ease with that side just because I've lived there and I've lived with my mum for much of my life. So, yeah.
Great, thank you.